How much minutes do we have, guys? How much it will be? 15 minutes?
It's 45 minutes, I think.
Oh, 45 minutes.
Yeah, so at 3:30 we'll have the next session is starting. So a bit before we'll have to close here and then start the next session, which is the innovation. I guess we will have to give some time until people start joining.
Oh, I read that the dog is retired. I never saw it.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's Dimitri's dog.
Yeah. Not Ella's.
Hi, guys.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
Dobry.
Good. Hi, Dobry.
Hello.
Mai is still on
You
duty.
won't see me because my camera is out of order.
So we won't see you. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, we have seen a lot.
Yeah, we know your face.
Yeah, we know each other quite well.
If Vladi join us, it's the same.
So we are still waiting some people to join, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, theoretically, there's lots of people joining for this talk. I had a list. I don't know where it is now. Is it this? Dimitri's also here. No, this is not it.
I will be writing and mostly, not very much. Hello. So Vika, I'm writing the notes, right?
Yeah. I'm just gonna, Jenny had sent us a list of people joining in that are supposed to be joining in today for the roundtable. And there's like 100 people theoretically joining in. So we just give some time, maybe 5 minutes. So people can start again, joining in after the break.
Hello, guys. Hi, Ohad, Clem, and the rest.
Hi. Okay, so we'll give it a couple more minutes, and if not, we just start. There's 11 people connected right now. And also Lisa doesn't count because she's technical support. So we'll have to wait a bit. Oh, I see Jose is also joining us today from the VCF. Hi, Jose.
Hey, Victoria.
Hi. Oh, and Stefan. Very cold, Stefan.
What?
A very cold, Stefan.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, so I think maybe we can start. I guess people will start slowly joining us after a couple of minutes. So it will be me, Ivo, Ivailo, Angelov, and Dobry, who will be chairing this roundtable. So if you have any questions, of course, you can either raise your hands or use the chat. As you all know, the session will be about poisoning, particularly the threat of poisoning, including feral dogs. So we all know that poisoning is one of the main threats for the Egyptian vulture across all its range. And also we all know that poisoning includes different types of poisoning. So we have intentional poisoning, which is very quite known. But we also have poisoning due to the use of diclofenac. We have poisoning due to lead. So there's a wide range of types of poisoning. Some and not all affect the same way the Egyptian vulture in the same degree, and not all of them are present in the same way in all the countries where the Egyptian vulture is present. So what we had discussed with Dobry and Ivo is that at least for us here in the Balkans, one of the types of poisoning, which is intentional poisoning, particularly due to conflicts with predators, is an issue that has been very much discussed. And it's been addressed quite intensely during the last years, the last 10 years, maybe more. So we decided that because there's theoretically there's going to be so many people in this session from different parts of the Egyptian vulture's range, we could discuss other types of poisoning that are maybe not so well known, and that we're only just now starting to study a bit more in depth. So at the beginning of the session, we will be concentrating mainly on what we would like to focus the conversation on the problem of rubbish dumps and the control of feral dogs. So maybe some of you had time to follow Ivo's presentation, where he presented this problem, which seems to be quite acute in some areas, especially maybe in Africa and Middle East. So as you all know, feral dogs the numbers are very high and increasing around the world.
Elas e estou a apoiar a lista L da escola secundária Philip.
What? Sorry? Oh, okay. So we would like to focus the conversation on this problem. We all know that Egyptian vultures tend to congregate at rubbish dumps. There's been congregations observed in many different areas, Turkey, Uzbekistan, Ethiopia, many more countries. And we also know that feral dogs are an issue and that are being culled in different countries due to the problems and conflicts they create with humans, and particularly for the problem of rabies. So many municipalities are using poisons to get rid of these dogs, and they frequently use poisons at dump sites, where we have these concentrations of Egyptian vultures on the one hand, and if they don't do them at dump sites, they do them somewhere else and then take the poisoned dogs to the dump sites. So again, they are available for the Egyptian vultures to feed on. So we would like to ask the people that are here on this session if they have if they know about these types of concentrations of Egyptian vultures at specific dump sites in their countries, and if at the specific sites they have recorded any type of killings of dogs and problems with poisons at these sites. So right now there are not many people here, but maybe we could go and different people could mention their experiences in the countries or the regions where they are working with the species. So whoever wants to talk first, they're very welcome. If anyone has, maybe nobody has experience with this issue, I don't know. Maybe Ohad, for instance.
Hi, everybody. We have a lot of experience, but it's very unique to our situation. So I am not sure it's relevant to others. I can say that in regard to rabies, the way the Israeli government and our organization is trying to reduce the fear of rabies is that every year there are baits with vaccination against rabies are spread all over Israel from the air by small airplanes or helicopters. Sometimes even Israel is assisting Jordan, and it's doing it on the Jordanian side of the border. So at least this is to control the problem of rabies, which is quite common in Israel. And always we can tell by the strains where it's coming from. We get it from Lebanon, we get it from Syria and from Jordan. In regard to feral dogs, I will go back first to rubbish dams. In Israel, hardly, there is probably some, but not to large extent, use of rubbish dams by Egyptian vultures, because the regulation of rubbish dams, and in Israel we have a lot of rubbish. Israelis are consuming much too much if we compare it to European countries, regard to everything, are covered immediately. So all the time rubbish is poured by trucks, but then it immediately must be covered. And now more and more during nighttime, because the problem of the tremendous increase in black kites numbers and the problem with aviation. So Egyptian vultures are not using official rubbish dams. Of course, there are those, the illegal ones, but then we fight it because we track Egyptian vultures and mainly black kites, and then we send our rangers and they give fines and they act against it. And now we get to the problem of feral dogs. We have about 40,000 feral stray dogs in the Negev desert, and they are probably in charge to most of the poisoning events that we have with Griffon vultures and Egyptian vultures. And it's a big, big problem to fight against it. And this is because of animal rights organizations that they are managing the conservation in our country. The feral cat is the most protected animal by law. And the feral dog is now becoming a very protected one. The Israeli government, the one that just lost the election, gave budget. We're talking on millions of shekels. They call it trap, cascarate, and release of feral dogs, which we and many veterinarians object. But as I said, the ones who are managing our country regarding conservation, environmental laws are tree huggers and animal rights. And this is the main threat to conservation in Israel in every aspect of conservation, from invasive species and so on, but this is different. So yes, this is the major problem that we face in the arid areas where most of the Egyptian vultures, we have concentration of over 100 Egyptian vultures, but in feeding sites. So for us, feeding sites are the solution. Also, the problem of diclofenac is increasing. It's manufactured in the West Bank, in Palestine, not under Israeli control and regulations. And then it is very, very cheap. And we see it spreading from there. And just last week, we lost at least 8 griffon vultures due to diclofenac, although it's not used in Israel, but it is used. So for us, the solution, at least to keep safe the Egyptian vultures from the rubbish dams, so possible, is just to spread more and more food. And we have to fence it against feral dogs, wolves, hyenas, foxes, and so on. So that's making a supplementary feeding becoming more and more expensive because fences are being stolen by the Bedouins also. So we have to hang on it wild boars so it won't be attractive to them because of religious matters, complicated. So that's Israel for now.
Okay, so this means that the poison that is being used is not really used in an organized way, shall we say, to kill feral dogs. It's used by people that are annoyed, shall we say, by feral dogs.
Victoria, to use poison in Israel against any vertebrate is against the law. The use is illegal, okay? Just illegal.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I imagine, I can imagine that it is illegal in, if not in all countries, in most countries, but people still use it. That's why it's, that's why it is a big problem. Okay, so obviously you can't control what happens beyond the borders of your country. So if birds travel somewhere else, they will have problems with diclofenac, and that's why, you know, we always talk about international collaboration and cooperation to protect birds because of their ability to travel. So does anybody else have something to share about the specific problem with feral dogs, and in particular the use of these campaigns that are being practiced by municipalities or not, even undercover, to cull dogs? No. Claire, are you there? She's there, but she's not.
Yeah. Hi, Vic.
Hi, Claire. How are you? I remember you had some cases of poisoned dogs close to Gjirokastër.
Yes.
They were close to they were at the rubbish dump. Is this right, or I'm not remembering correctly?
Yes, you remember it perfect. So yes, we had a case of poisoning of stray dogs in Gjirokastër, which is a city very close to the breeding territories of the Egyptian vulture, and so the poisoning incident happened in the city. We think that it was organized by municipality, as it is organized in many other cities in the country. And the risk here was what was going to happen with the carcasses, because usually they throw them in the dump sites or in the nature, in the rivers, and so on. So in case they would throw these carcasses in the dump site close to the city, it will be very dangerous for the Egyptian vulture, because we have seen some individuals using the dump site to feed. So this was the case, but the reaction was immediate from the community first, because it happened in the city and everyone was very sensitive about it. And of course, we reacted so they would not throw the carcasses, and we opened a case. Let's say we reported this to the police, but since most probably the municipality was involved in the case, they didn't do anything about it, but at least the carcasses were removed and it didn't pose any danger for wildlife.
So what did they do with them? did they bury them somewhere else? Or?
Yeah, we asked them to bury the carcasses. We were told by the from some guys which live in Gjirokastër and were mostly involved with this case, and they wanted to get some punishment and so on. They told us that they also what's the word? Not bury, but completely destroyed the animals by fire. So yeah, that's
Okay. So, but this belief that it was done by the municipality is, so you really think that the municipality carried out such campaign? Because we've also heard this for Greece, but we can never prove it.
This is the case for most of the cities. It happens in every city, and we have also, not for this case specifically, but we have other cases when we see videos from video recordings that are workers from the municipality who carry out these poisoning incidents in an organized manner in order to control the population of stray dogs. And also some people from Gjirokastër told us, or they were very suspective that some guy from some worker from municipality put poison baits for poisoning of the dogs in that incident.
Okay. Jose, you want to say something? Jose?
I'm mute, sorry. Yeah, very nice examples and very good examples. But I think it would be good maybe to discuss this issue more at the strategic level. So this is a type of conflict very much like the wildlife human conflict that will never go away and will never be completely eliminated, like the issue of carnivore predation. I think there are really two levels in which we have to address this. One level is to mitigate methods to mitigate and reduce this conflict. Like with carnivore predation on livestock, with feral dog frequency of rubbish dumps, there are ways to mitigate and reduce this conflict, and this could be through fencing and or through guidelines for rubbish dump management that will reduce attendance by feral dogs and or other animals that we don't want to see there. So that's a really a big component of work. The second one is legal and enforcement. Is in the countries where poison is still legally used or where there is legal omission, and therefore it is used without any legal context, is to make the use of poison to control feral dogs or other types of animals illegal on one hand. And in the countries where it's already illegal but it's still being used because there is impunity, then it's a case of shoring up and working on the enforcement so that authorities or local authorities or whoever don't resort to use those methods and instead use the alternative methods that would be developed in the first group of actions that I've just mentioned. These are really the two levels that we need to approach this as other conflicts. On one hand, mitigation methods, alternative solutions to prevent the occurrence of feral dogs on rubbish dumps, in terms of rubbish dump management, fencing, and so on. And the other one is legal and enforcement. And there's been plenty of examples throughout this conference of methods in which legal and or enforcement actions can be enhanced.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it is, obviously a great point. I imagine though that in some countries this it's more difficult to enforce, especially in areas where they have many dump sites, which I guess this happens maybe in Africa or Middle East. They're not so concentrated maybe as some, in the countries in Europe. I think Ella raised her hand, so she can say.
Hi guys. So I think the most important thing is with feral and stray dogs is the origin of why there are so many. I think also we should work because, as Ohad mentioned, in his country there are really strict laws to protect pets, but there are no laws like in Greece. There's also very strict law, very recent law to protect pets, dog and cats, but there is no strict law or control of owners of these dogs. So I think in some countries we should work more on that, because we should work on the origin of the problem. So stray dogs, why they are stray dogs? Because of us, because of the owners. So I think we should work also on this. I mean, on the law. Actually, in Greece we have law, but it's not implemented, of course. So I think also we should think about this, not only to reduce the number of stray and feral dogs.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so again, we come back to enforcement law and enforcement, as Jose mentioned, but maybe on a different area, but again, yeah, the same.
Awareness, you know.
Awareness, yeah, of course.
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah. Then again, okay, this is for what will happen from now on, shall we say, if we start enforcing the law and not letting owners, abandon their dogs, which is what usually happens. But in some countries, the numbers of existing feral dogs are already so large that you have to do something with these dogs. It's something that you also have to address. I think Dimitris raised his hand first, please.
Yeah, hello from here. Okay, I also agree with Ella and Jose about the enforcement, but there are countries that we have to propose solutions of lethal methods, probably, but not dangerous to vultures, like cyanide, for example. We are not, as Ohad said, we are not tree hangers. We want to do conservation here. So it's not our role to deal with animal welfare laws. We can demand things for application, but not, I'm not really a fan of involving into these laws. We have 4 million stray animals in Greece, and some of them die in the cities and thrown away in the illegal rummage dumps and the vultures. So I only care about the carcass handling. But the cyanide can be a solution for Africa, for example.
Yeah. So you suggest to still cull the dogs, but using using a poison that wouldn't cause secondary poisoning.
And in organized with a protocol or something, we do rat eradications. We still use poison in conservation. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it's always a difficult. I mean.
Yeah, but we have to address the difficulty.
If we are gonna look, I think it's really difficult to say something like this. Use cyanide for feral dogs, because then, for example, hunters, they might say, let's use it for foxes. No,
Ella, not for Greece. We are talking about countries that poisoning is legal. We are not talking about only Greece.
Oh, okay.
Greece is another thing. We can discuss it in the Greek group.
Yeah, but there are very few countries actually that
in Africa.
Legal.
I'm not sure. I think maybe Ivo can. He's been working in all these countries.
Sorry, one last thing, because I heard from Cleve this official, unofficial eradication from the municipalities. As you said, Victoria, we have the same rumor spreading around Greece that there is sometimes an unofficial but official use of poison on stray dogs from the municipalities, and I would like to hear from all the other countries if there is such a rumor, at least in Bulgaria or in Israel, that the municipalities do an eradication inside towns of the stray dogs because they have to throw away these carcasses somewhere.
Yeah. So, okay, what we'll do is Ivo can maybe give us an idea of what's happening in other countries, because he's been working on this issue in several different countries. He's traveled also there. And then also pass on to Ohad, who's had his hand raised for a long time now. Okay, Ivo.
Thanks, Vic. So a few years ago, I tried to make my research on the problem with the dogs and rubbish dumps all over. At the same time, I was having all the literature about Egyptian voucher for Africa and big part of the literature for Asia, and started gathering it. So in my presentation, I mentioned the countries where there are hundreds of congregations of hundreds of Egyptian vouchers on rubbish dumps. And you're saying what is happening here on the Balkans. We still get this poisoning, mass poisoning cases. Imagine what is happening in Africa, where they don't have laws for the dogs and they have thousands of people dying due to rabies. People dying due to rabies, not just domestic animals killed by dogs. So there is a huge conflict, no regulations, and municipalities do this undercover everywhere. So as Dimitris said, it's a huge problem. We don't have the capacity to solve this problem. But maybe what we can do is to map all rubbish dumps that are important for the species, and see what number of congregations there are, and this will form a significant percentage of the global population, because this will be thousands of Egyptian vouchers that depend on a few tenths of rubbish dumps that we know of, and then develop a common protocol for trying to make this rubbish dump safer somehow. Work with local municipalities and try to see if we can conduct regular monitoring. The colleagues in Oman and Mike tried to do this there, and it was successful for a few years. We were having monthly counts, and it was very impressive. You go to the rubbish dumps and there are 500 Egyptian vouchers together. Which may mean that more than 1,000 use it for the day. So I think the first, we're obviously very few people now here, but the first thing should be gather database on the actual database on the present day use of rubbish dumps by big number of Egyptian vouchers across the global range, have a coordinator, and then try to find funding for a baseline survey on these rubbish dumps and see what is the actual situation at the moment, and develop this protocol, like make a meeting with the municipality and have a common approach everywhere. But it's too complicated. There are many countries, but it's important. We have thousands of Egyptian vouchers on rubbish dumps in Oman. Thousands in India. We learned now on the conference about Bikaner in Rajasthan, and all these many thousand Egyptian vouchers from Central Asia go there. And there are many feral dogs, and municipalities controlling the feral dogs for sure. They are on some way. We need to see how they are doing it. In Ethiopia, in Afar also.
A really good point that Ivo made at during his presentation was that in Oman and Socotra, right? They have really good populations of Egyptian vultures, and coincidentally, they don't have feral dogs due to cultural reasons. They have no feral dogs, or really very few feral dogs. So there seems to be some kind of link there, maybe. That could prove that this mass poisonings at congregation sites, at dump sites, are actually very important, and feral dogs.
And Vic, not only mass poisoning, also imagine if normally the dead dogs are going to the rubbish dumps, it may mean that every single or every small number of poisoned dogs that are sporadically poisoned anywhere in the range systematically go to the rubbish dump. So there is maybe a constant supply of poisoned dogs that are just arriving at the rubbish dump.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a mass poisoning, but every day there might be a couple of Egyptian vultures dying every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or had you had your hand raised before? I'm not sure if you still want to say something.
Yeah, I just took it off to reduce the pressure that you see it. Great. Well, I will go back to what Ivo said and to join and even widen on it. Just another regulation we have in Israel and probably might be relevant to Western countries. The government, in order to prevent dogs from those that are not feral but with owners to propagate, you have to pay for when you get the vaccination of rabies. And here people are afraid of rabies because we also have mortality from time to time, and it's affecting livestock as well. They can have rabies and so on, your sheep, and being bitten by jackals or foxes or feral dogs. So if you have your dog is not castrated, you pay much higher toll for having a dog and to get the annual or biannual vaccination. So most people take their dogs to castrate because then it's only 10% of the annual fee to have license for a dog. But this is, of course, a local measure. I think that first we should state that we want to try to attract Egyptian vultures away from rubbish dumps because they are dangerous in other aspects as well. So if we think that it's good for the species in Oman and other places, it's a wrong perceptive. Yes, we have to understand that in some places it will be the case, but we have to try to have, let's say, supplementary feeding as much as possible. Another measure, like in Israel, you're not allowed to throw carcasses in rubbish dumps. There are the special regulation to get rid of carcasses, so they are not allowed in rubbish dumps. This is maybe why they are less attractive for the species, but we have to make this differentiation or classification, countries with regulations and without. And then if we can support places that are imperative and important to Egyptian vulture on the flyway or concentration in the winter, and it's only to fund the fencing, this is not maybe something relatively simple until we succeed to attract them to a nearby place that will have a safe food without plastics and all the other things that they can get also tangled with ropes, wires in the rubbish dump, and so on and so on. So, sorry, a phone call about vultures landing in the desert, but I will answer it in a minute. So I think if we want to preserve, we have to continue with what Ivailo said, to make this mapping with prioritization according countries with regulations of rubbish, with feral dogs and so on. Maybe some countries can adopt the method of spreading these in wintertime, the baits with vaccination against rabies, and then there is less pressure to poison. It's not something complicated, and in Israel it's for probably 20 years now, very effective. So we have to map and then to come with advices, maybe it's from outside funding or to come with the ideas to places that are not familiar with. If you want, we can share our experience about that. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Ohad. I understand your point of trying to attract Egyptian vultures or other types of vultures away from rubbish dumps, but then again, I think maybe this is easier in countries as you say have already have regulations and already more kind of organized. I don't have small rubbish dumps around all over the country, so I'm not sure how easy it would be to implement, or it would have to be done maybe more in the long term. We have some comments in the chat from Jose that he agrees with Ivo that we have to prioritize rubbish dumps. And we also have a comment from Stefan Opel that in India, the number of feral dogs, as we all know, is increasing due to the collapse of vulture populations. So yeah, obviously the vultures are not there, so nobody's eating the carcasses. Dogs will eat them. So for sure, in India, it's known that some diseases are increasing due to this, and they need to address it fast, not only for the sake of vultures, but for the sake of health, of human health. So we have less than 5 minutes left. I don't know if somebody wants to add anything else to the conversation. Any other ideas or anything that we would like to finalize? Oh,
Maybe about this Middle Eastern population, Turkey is a huge core of the population, and maybe it's the highest priority for us is to map all of the rubbish dumps, important rubbish dumps for Egyptian vouchers in Turkey. We already know few, to map them all and to try to have monitoring. This which Shohat said that in Israel, most of Egyptian vouchers feed on feeding station is really great. Here on the Balkans, we are lucky in the last years in the Eastern roll-ups in Bulgaria, we have the immature segment of the population concentrating also on a big feeding station here. So they are mostly safe. But this will take a long time to happen in most of the countries in the Middle East and Africa. So prioritizations of dumps in Turkey, I think, is hugely important for the whole Eastern Flyway and India also.
Yeah.
India and Iran, we know so little about Iran. Iran, I think, is also highly important. Pakistan also, but for this segment here along the Eastern Flyway, Eastern Mediterranean Flyway, maybe Turkey is the most important.
maybe Turkey, yeah, would be a hotspot. So here, Ian Francis from the African Bird Club has just added something in the chat, saying that there are small grants provided by the African Bird Club, around £3,000. So that can be used to try to tackle vulture poisoning. So he sent us a link where we can check. And maybe it's something that we should keep in mind, Ivo, especially for you, if you're trying to organize some study or some research on this issue. Maybe this can help you. Thank you, Ian. And now I have to wrap up because we're finishing. We have to, I really thanks a lot for joining us. I know there wasn't as many people as we expected, but still I think the conversation went really well and we made some really interesting points. Thank you, Hat, especially for your contribution, and Jose, and Claire, and everybody. I think Dobry has been taking notes of everything. I've also taken notes of some of the things we've said. I'm not sure if the conference will be sending to everybody like a summary of these points that we've gathered and shared around the group. In any case, thank you. As you know, you have to close the Zoom and then go back to your timeline and click on the next session if you want to carry on with us. And if not, I hope to see you all soon somewhere, I don't know, for the Egyptian vulture. Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.